and C, it's equals to 2 over 3. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is just in case if we've got a question where we might need to refer to the gradient of that line G, A, F, and C. In short, it means G, A, F, and C are collinear points. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's now move to question 3.2. So remember guys, question 3.2, it's allocated how many marks? Is 3 marks. So the question says determine the equation of line DE in the form y it's equals to mx plus c. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important that you fully understand what the question says. Okay, so the question says determine the equation of line DE. Where is DE? There is DE. Okay, in the form of y is equals to mx plus c. So this question is allocated how many marks? It's 3 marks. Ladies and gentlemen, remember this question paper, it's available on my Telegram channel. You can easily access this question paper and read on the questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember when I started with this lesson, I asked you what you understand about the lines which are parallel to each other. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So, now they want us to calculate the equation of DE in the form of y is equals to mx plus c. And remember, we just indicated that parallel lines have got the same gradient. Okay, so what does it mean? Actually means the gradient of line AC, it's actually equals to the gradient of DE. Do you agree, ladies and gentlemen? So that means the gradient of these two which are the same, it's equals to 2 over 3. Okay, I hope you still remember how we calculated it in 3.1. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember what the question wants us to calculate is the equation of line DE in the form of, let me just write it down there to say in the form of y, it's equals to mx plus c. And this question is allocated 3 marks. Okay, guys, very, very much important that you fully understand what the question wants. Guys, let's now write. I think there might be 2 ways in which you can answer this question. I think it might worth it that we go through the same types of answering this question. So obviously the first way, remember guys, we've got the coordinates that we know. We just need one coordinate if we know the gradient. Okay, so we know the coordinate of D, which is 5 and -1. Okay, so why do we need only one coordinate? Ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important. We already have the gradient, okay, which is that gradient over there. So we just need one coordinate to substitute the y value and the x value to calculate the coordinates of C. In that way, we can present the answer in the form of y it's equals to mx plus c. Okay, so guys, let's just consider this the first way of answering this question. Okay, so we've got the formula which says y is equals to mx plus c. Okay, we already know, ladies and gentlemen, we've got y which is equals to, what is our m? Which m? M of the line that we want to determine its gradient. What is that line? That line is line DE. Okay, what about that line DE? We know line DE is parallel to line AC. So what does it mean? It means the gradient of AC is the same as the gradient of DE. Guys, can we substitute 2/3 there? If the answer to that question is yes, then we can continue with our question. What makes it valid to substitute that gradient there is because these two lines have got the same gradient. They are parallel to each other. So now we can just continue. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we actually need the value of C. Okay, so we can make use of one point along the straight line of DE to calculate the value of C. Okay, guys, it's very much easy. We use the coordinates of D. We know y it's -1, which is equals to 2/3 into the x value. It's 5. We just substitute 5. Then you say plus C. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you fully understand what's going on over there. Okay, so obviously, guys, you're going to have to move all of this to that side of the equation. Just to simplify, this is what is this? This is actually 2 times 5, which is equals to 10. So it's more like you've got 1, you move it to the other side, it changes the sign, it becomes -10/3. So this is actually going to be equals to C. Okay, so guys, what is -1 minus 10? Okay, so you can just punch that on a calculator. I think if you actually punch that on a calculator, it should give you an answer, which is C. It's equals to it's -13/3. Okay, so it's actually -13/3. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, how do we then answer this question? This is where you now see y it's equals to, the gradient is 2/3x minus 13/3. Okay, so let's consider this as the first method in which you can use to answer that question. Okay, so now let's try the second method. Not that much complicated or difficult, almost one and the same thing. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. You remember this formula, guys, which says y minus y1 is equals to m into x minus x1. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very much important that you fully understand this formula. Okay, so you can easily use this formula if you've got the gradient. Okay, and also if you've got one point along the line that you want to determine the equation. Okay, so this is y minus y1 refers to the y value of that coordinate. X1 refers to the x value of that coordinate. So that means this is x1, this is y1. Okay, so y and x is this y and x. Okay, so that means finally your final answer will be represented in the form of y it's equals to m, which is that m, which is that m, and then x, which is that x, and then x1 and y1 will automatically give you the value of C. Okay, so now let's try to substitute and see what we get in the end. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important that you fully understand exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, so now let's substitute our y1. It's obviously -1, okay, which is equals to 2/3. It's our gradient, and x is just x. Then you subtract x1, which is equals to 5. Okay, so obviously negative multiplied by negative is a positive, so that means you have y plus 1, which is equals to the whole of this times x, the whole of this times 5, then you've got 2 over 3x. Okay, then you've got 2 over 3 minus multiplied by 5, so it's obviously minus what is it, 10 over 3. Okay guys, I assume so far you fully understand what's going on. Okay, so now you just move that positive 1 to that side of the equation. Okay, so that you know, you've got y on the left side of the equation. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that means you've got y, which is equals to 2 over 3x minus 10 over 3 minus 1. Okay, so can you see guys, this part of the equation, this part of the equation is the same as that part of the equation, which will give you the value of c. Okay, so that means negative 1 minus 10 over 3 will be equals to negative 13 over 3. So that's why our final answer is y. It's equals to 2 over 3x minus 13 over 3. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't really matter which method you apply. Whichever one that you're comfortable with, you can just choose to use that particular method. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I just noticed I need to quickly go and get my calculator, but we'll just quickly mark this and you give me about less than 5 seconds to quickly get my calculator. So if you followed or you used the first method to answer the question, remember this question, it's allocated 3 marks. Okay, so that means we just give you a mark for providing that reason. It's very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you back up your calculations. Okay, so for just giving that reason where you say that's where you say a DE or AC is parallel to AC. Okay, we give you that reason, and therefore that means the gradients are the same. Okay, so guys, the other mark, most importantly, if you've done it using the first method, that means we give you another mark for correct substitution. Okay, so this is where you correctly substituted everything. Okay, so from there, ladies and gentlemen, we just give you a mark for your final answer. Okay, otherwise, if you used this method, then this is where we give you that mark, ladies and gentlemen, for correct substitution. And again, your last mark comes from the final answer. So that means for both of the steps, your first mark comes from that equation or that reason. Then from there, based on which step you followed, then we give you a mark. Otherwise, if you use this method, a mark for substitution and a mark for final answer. So in short, it's a mark for substitution. We give you a mark, and then we give you another mark for answer. Okay, so that's basically how you score your 3 marks. So guys, let me quickly get my calculator, and then from there we'll continue with the next question. In case if you're copying this information, then this is your opportunity to quickly copy the information. Again, if you're one of those who are watching and going to replay this lesson as soon as I'm done, then this is your chance to quickly grab a glass of water. So just a few seconds, guys. Okay guys, so now let's move to the next question. So I'm going to remove all of this information. Remember guys, I'm going to make this lesson available on my YouTube channel. As soon as we're done with this lesson, I'll make sure that it's posted. Then you can replay it over and over again. Make sure to to play this video before you write your exams, as many as possible until you understand. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's now move to question 3 point, let me see, 3.3. okay, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Let's check what the question wants us to calculate. Remember, this question is there on my Telegram channel, and this question is allocated 3 marks. Okay, so guys, they want you to calculate the size of angle alpha. Okay, so this is that angle that they want you to calculate. Very much important, ladies and gentlemen. If you've watched from the beginning of this lesson, I've explained clearly how to interpret that angle, and again I've indicated that that angle is greater than 90 degrees. So we won't spend a lot of time on this question. What we are going to do, it's obviously what we're going to do is obviously straightforward answer the question. Okay, very much important that you understand the first part of this lesson. So ladies and gentlemen, we know that a tan of that alpha, okay, which is actually the tan of the angle as a result of let's see, I'm just thinking of how to actually write that angle, because it's formed between these two lines. Okay, so let me just say CF angle and O, it's equals to, obviously ladies and gentlemen, we know that what is it, the line of AC, we know the gradient of that line, isn't it? So I think we can easily equate it to the gradient of AC. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand exactly what it means by that information, because your answer is actually based on that information, ladies and gentlemen. So if you don't in any way understand that part of the equation, then you won't easily follow as we continue with our angle. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, there's actually something that I think I should just add this as part of this lesson for answering this question. Remember guys, you've got a straight line, which is that straight line, and you've got let me do this and say you've got the x-axis. Okay, you've got the x-axis. So this is G, this is that point G, this is that point, what is it? I can use F. See, let me just use F there and use F. Okay, I just want you to actually understand how I formulated that. So if need be, based on what you understand, I'll just rewrite that formula if need be, based on your understanding with regards to what I'm about to explain. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, remember, this is that point G, this is that F over there. So that angle, ladies and gentlemen, that angle, okay, is it not equals to that angle formed there? Let me just show you which angle I'm talking about. This is that y-axis. Okay, so now this is that line, that same line. Okay, that same line. Obviously, it starts from there up to there. So let's say that is a C. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you remember I've done that dotted line in the first part of this lesson, that dotted horizontal line. Okay, you remember guys. So this angle between that horizontal dotted line and that same line, is it not the same as this angle, ladies and gentlemen? That's the question that I'm asking. It should be the same. Why? Because you've got a horizontal line at 2 points. That point and at that point along the same line. Okay, that's what makes it the same angle. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, remember the angle that they want us to calculate is all of this angle, which is 90. I hope you fully understand, ladies and gentlemen, that when you've got a right angle or lines which are perpendicular to each other, they form a 90-degree angle. So that horizontal dotted line, it's actually perpendicular to the y-axis. That's why I'm saying we've got 90 degrees there and a small angle there. So you must add these two angles to find angle alpha. Okay, so angle alpha is what they want us to calculate. Okay, so just to make it easy, guys, just to make it easy, can we just refer to that angle as angle beta? Ladies and gentlemen, can we just refer to this? It's that angle, remember. Can we just refer to that angle as angle beta? Okay, so that we know as soon as we've calculated angle beta, we are going to add it to 90 and get the angle of angle alpha. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not really sure if I've lost you. I'm not really sure if I've confused you with that explanation, but I'm praying and hoping that as I continue with the calculation of these questions, you will have a better understanding of what I meant. So, guys, let me just remove all of this information. And then from there, let me actually remove all of that and also try to write the new formula for calculating that. Remember, I've just requested that we remember there's a horizontal line there, and there's that angle between that horizontal dotted line and that line, which I requested for it to be referred to as angle beta. Okay, so that means we can say tan of beta is equals to m of AC. Okay, we know m of AC is equals to 2/3. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, again, if you want, you can just say a tan of angle, tan of that angle. Remember, that angle is the same as that angle beta there. Okay, so you can just say angle, tan of angle F, G, and O. Okay, it's equals to gradient of AC, which is still equals to gradient of AC, which is 2/3. Okay, it doesn't really matter which way you do it. Okay, so what matters the most is for you to understand how I formulated that part. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's now formulate for angle alpha. Okay, we haven't started with the substitution, we are just trying to formulate. Okay, so remember, guys, these two formulas refers to the same angle. Okay, doesn't necessarily mean that this is the first step, this is the second step. You can either choose to write it that way or this way. Okay, so guys, now the formula for the alpha. Do you agree that the formula for the alpha is equals to 90 degrees plus the angle which is calculated using one of these formulas? Can I just say angle beta? Ladies and gentlemen, otherwise, if you don't say angle beta, then it's angle F, G, angle there, O. Okay, let me just shortly interpret what is meant by that, or where or how does that format come from. So remember, guys, you've got this is that point which is G, that point there, and again you've got F, there, and again you've got O there. So, ladies and gentlemen, that angle there, which is formed by these two lines of G and F, G and O. Okay, so G is common to both of these lines. That's why we write it in the middle. Okay, so G is common to F and G. Okay, and again the same G is common to O and G. That's why G is written in the middle. On the side you write these vertices or these points which are connected to that G, and then you indicate with that, say the angle is actually that angle of G, of which you can name it as angle beta. Okay, you can either name it as angle beta or name it as a, in this format, such that you indicate to the examiner that this is actually the angle that you're calculating, because you know that angle is the same as the angle formed between the dotted line and that line of this gradient. Okay, I hope, guys, it serves as an additional information and you also understand. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that means angle alpha is equals to 90 plus this angle. So let's just try to quickly calculate that angle and add it to 90 degrees. Okay, so obviously, guys, let's just refer to it as beta, otherwise one may say a F angle GO. Okay, obviously we know it should be second function of 2 over 3. Okay, then you can just pull out your calculator and punch second function of tan 2 over 3 close, it's equals to 33.69. okay, 33.69 degrees. Okay, therefore that means angle alpha is equals to 90 degrees plus 33.69 degrees, which is equals to, then you can just add 90 there, then it means it's 123.69 degrees. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you solve this question of 3.3, which is allocated 3 marks. Where do you score your marks? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, very much important that you understand exactly where you score your 3 marks. Okay, so this is where they give you your first mark. There or there, doesn't really matter which one you've written as part of your answer. So let's just assume we used that formula. Okay, so that means tan beta is equals to gradient of AC, which is equals to 2 over 3. This is where you score your first mark. Okay, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. They give you a mark for getting the correct answer as part of your first angle. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now, obviously, your last mark will come from your final correct answer. Okay, so guys, this is how you solve a question 3.3. So now let's move to the next questions. I hope they are not that much complicated, and again, I hope you're going to enjoy these questions. Okay, so now let's move to question 3.4. Let me check. Let me quickly check. Oh, there you go. So the question says B, it's actually a mini statement which is given there. It says B is a point in the first quadrant that A, B, D, E, such that A, B, D, E in that order forms a rectangle. Calculate giving reasons the following. This is going to be an interesting question. So ladies and gentlemen, let's check something. I'll just read that statement for the last time so that it sinks in. So they say B is a point in the first quadrant ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand that this is the first quadrant, this is the second quadrant, this is the third quadrant, and this is the fourth quadrant. And they are saying B is in the first quadrant. Okay. Such that A, B, D, E, A and that B which is in the first quadrant, D which is that one, and E in that order forms a rectangle. This is an interesting question, ladies and gentlemen. Can we try to locate that B, ladies and gentlemen? I think it could be somewhere, let's say there. Why am I saying somewhere there, ladies and gentlemen? Is because these lines, they must form a rectangle. So they must form a rectangle. Okay, they must form a rectangle. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just do something like this so that you understand. So this is that line of that point and that point. Okay, remember this is A. Okay, and again you've got another line which is parallel to that line somewhere there, which is E and D. Okay, remember these lines are parallel. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So obviously for for this to be a rectangle, you should have a line somewhere there. They've given us a hint that it's in the first quadrant. So that means that line from there to there, it has to be the same length from there to that B. Okay, so we don't know exactly where is B, but it's somewhere there. I've just estimated it to be somewhere there. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it means these lines joining, they are also equal. Okay, why? Because this is a rectangle. So that point there is point B. Okay, so this is that point B somewhere there. And let's have a look at the question. The question says B is a point in the first quadrant such that A, B, D, and E in that order is a rectangle. Okay, so what do we know about a rectangle, ladies and gentlemen? We know these two lines are parallel and again they are equal. So that means also these two lines will be parallel and again equal. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very much important that you understand this part. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, again, if we draw diagonal lines joining B and E, okay, and again a diagonal line joining A and D, that point of intersection of the diagonal lines, ladies and gentlemen, it's a common point for these two lines. Okay, I'm not sure if you fully understand what I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, as I explain, I'm also trying to listen to myself if I'm making sense, ladies and gentlemen, because you just need to understand this information for you to be able to understand how to answer questions related to that triangle. Okay, so that point, ladies and gentlemen, it's a common point to these diagonal lines. Okay, so that means the midpoint of B and E is the same midpoint as A and D. Okay, hope you fully understand that part. In terms of the lengths, guys, does it mean the length of B and E equals to the length of A and D? This is a question that I'm asking you, ladies and gentlemen. According to me, I think they are equal in terms of the lengths. Okay, so guys, at that point, you've got information which is very, very much important in order to assist you to answer questions related to this triangle. Okay, so that means, ladies and gentlemen, you can make use of the coordinates of A and D to find two things about B and E. Okay, so that means you can use the midpoint formula, number one, to find the midpoint of AD, which is the midpoint of B and E. Okay, and again, you can use the distance formula, number two, to know the length between A and D, which is the same length as B and E. Guys, I hope you really understood what I've explained there. Okay, so I'm not sure, let me not wipe this information, but instead let me just say we've got our A there, which is -2 and 3. Then we've got our D there, which is 5 and -1. Okay, and then from there, let's try to answer the questions. So, guys, we've got our first question, which says calculate the coordinates of M, the midpoint of BE. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. They want the midpoint of BE. And based on what I've explained, I've said the midpoint of AD is the same as the midpoint of BD. Okay, so we can say, remember the question wanted you to give the reason and calculate. Okay, so let's firstly give a reason. This will be 3.4.1. Okay, so we are going to say M, which is the midpoint of AD. Okay, it's the same as the midpoint of BE. Why? Because of we've got diagonal lines within that triangle. Okay, so you can just say diagonal lines. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Diagonal lines of a rectangle. Okay, diagonal lines of a rectangle. So now we can confidently calculate. We know M is actually equals to x1 plus x2 over 2. So I'm not that much interested in the formula, guys, because I know you obviously know the formula, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is just to substitute. The x value is -2, then you can just say -2 plus the second x value there, it's 5 over 2. Okay, and again, we've got the y2, which is that one over there, which is 3 plus the y value there, which is -1 over 2. Okay, remember, guys, the formula it's x1 plus y1 over 2. X2. Let me see, x1 plus x2 over 2. This is the formula, guys, for calculating the x value of the midpoint. Y1 plus y2 over 2. So this formula is given to you in the formula sheet. So that's why I'm not that much interested in explaining the formula. Okay, and again, remember, it's not given a mark. So, ladies and gentlemen, that means M, which is the midpoint, okay, of BE. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. The midpoint of BE, which is the same as the midpoint of AD, is equals to, we know, -2 plus 3, plus 5. That should be, isn't it 3? I think it's 3, guys. You can just punch it on a calculator, but I think it's 3, then over that 2. Okay, and then you've got 3 plus is the same as 3 minus 1, which is equals to 2, then 2 over 2, it's equals to 1. Okay, so that means this is the midpoint of B and it's the midpoint of B. Let me just do that, which is that point where x it's actually equals to, there is 3 over 2, which is 1.5, and there the y value is actually 1. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's now move to the next question. So the next question is also not that much complicated. It should be an easy one. So we are now moving to question 3.4.2, and the question says calculate the length of diagonal BE. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I've just explained that the length of the length of AD. Okay, the length of AD is equals to the length of B. What was it? It was E there. Okay, BE. Okay, reason to that, diagonal of rectangles. Okay, same reason as for question 3.4.1. Okay, so guys, you obviously know the formula for calculating the length. I think it should be something like x1 plus x2 squared. I'm not sure if it's minus or a plus inside. I think it should be a minus. You can just confirm on the formula sheet. So maybe let's say x2 minus x1, and then you add, then you have y2 minus y1, you add and then squared. Okay, so I'm also here, guys, I'm not really that much interested in the formula. It's given there as the formula for distance. Then you can just use the same formula. What matters the most is for you to obviously substitute correctly. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we haven't marked that question of 3.4.1. Okay, but otherwise, let me just give you a hint, because I just remember that we haven't marked it. But obviously, you get your first mark for for the reason. Okay, so let's say you get your first mark for providing the reason. Okay, this is where you get your first mark, and then your second mark for correct substitution, and then your last mark comes from the correct answer. Okay, so this is the criteria that they use to mark this type of questions. Remember that question, it was allocated 3 marks, so also for this question we follow the same criteria. That's why I'm saying we are not that much interested in the formula. Okay, but most importantly, guys, for you must write the formula and show exactly how you substitute. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important. Okay, so let's assume this to be the second values, this to be the first values. Okay, so that means x2 is actually minus 2, then you minus x1, which is 5, then you squared, then you add, then into, obviously that will be y2, then you subtract in brackets y1 because it's in a negative. So remember to square. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, from there you just punch all of this on a calculator. Let's see, then you can just say square root into -2 minus 5, you close, remember to square it all times, you plus, into 3 minus into -1, you close, and then you close again, you square it. It's equals to, then this is what I'm getting, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure if you're also getting the same answer, but this is square root of 65. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important that you understand what I've done here. So it's actually that units. If you want to write it in decimal, correct it 2 decimal places, then you can just say 0.62, 8.06 units. Okay, so the reason why you will still get a mark if you leave it there is because they didn't specify to what decimal places. Okay, so when you punched all of this on a calculator, this is what you got. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So obviously I've explained the criteria that they use to mark this type of questions. Then it means they give you a mark for obviously the reason, okay, most importantly, and then your second mark comes from your correct substitution, and your last mark comes from your final answer. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this lesson as much as I did, and I thank you very much for joining. Guys, please do make sure to like this video if you feel like the information provided was valuable. It serves as an indication to me that I'm not in any way confusing you guys. So if you haven't subscribed, please make sure to subscribe so that you're notified of future uploads. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Desmond, and I'm out.